Now, before delving into today's discussion on India's foreign policy shift in South Asia, balancing relations with neighbors and global players, let me provide some context about our vibrant society. Our primary goal is to engage students in insightful conversations about a wide range of social science topics. We achieve this through thoughtfully organized lectures, seminars, workshops, and discussion sessions aiming to develop a well-rounded understanding of contemporary societal challenges. Our society, aptly named the Discourse, embodies the ethos of intellectual curiosity and collaborative learning. It serves as a melting pot of ideas where students, research scholars, and professors come together to exchange perspectives, challenge assumptions, and broaden their origins. From thought-provoking lectures delivered by esteemed professors to specialized discussions on pressing societal issues, the discourse provides a platform for intellectual growth and explorations. As we gather here today for engaging discourse, I am delighted to announce that our today's session will be a lecture cum discussion format. We will begin with a brief lecture by Sir in our exploration of India's foreign policy shift in South Asia. Following this, Sir will elaborate on the topic, ensuring clarities for all the attendees, including those from non-political science backgrounds. Additionally, he will offer valuable guidance and facilitate focused and insightful discussion among us. In next part of our today's discussion session, we all will engage into meaningful discussions. In our quest for academic excellence, we are fortunate to be guided by esteemed individuals like Sir, whose expertise in political science is highly regarded. Sir earned his master's degree in political science from AU, followed by an MPhil from JNU and a PhD from AU. He also pursued postdoctoral studies at Cambridge as a recipient of prestigious Charles Wallace Fellowship. Today's session carries significant importance as we delve into India's foreign policy complexities under the expert guidance of Sir. With a distinguished academic history including studies at renowned institutions like AU, JNU, and Thank you so much, Priya. Now, without any further delay, let us extend a warm welcome to Professor Tej Pratap Sir, the Professor in charge of Political Science Department at BHU. His insights and guidance are invaluable as we navigate through today's discussion session. His expertise and insights will surely enrich our discussion session. Please join me in welcoming Sir to the stage. Let's give a big round of applause for Sir's valuable insights.
In fact, a big round of applause is due to Discourse team. And hats off to enthusiasm of little girl Chanchal Sharma. I was really amazed with her energy, enthusiasm, and it is because of that immediately I accepted her invitation without knowing anything about the discourse and this. But this much I can say, being a teacher for the last many decades, around 30 years, she has tremendous potential and she has very bright future. She and her whole discourse team, first time I'm meeting her, not knowing your name, but the whole team must be appreciated, and I don't have the words to appreciate your entire team and whatever you have managed about it. Yes, Chanchal told me that probably this is the second in-person online talk she has organized. She is full of ideas and this is probably second, and she told me some Priyanka Sotkar madam from Hindi department has delivered the first lecture, and first second she has chosen me. With this impression, probably someone would have recommended her my name, and that is why she called me. Then she told me, no, sir, she had searched me online. So, happy to know this thing that I am also available online. Yeah, many people have come to me through online route also. Sometimes people come through recommendations, but now we are living in a different age where online help is also available. The topic has been given to me, the India's foreign policy. We are teaching India's foreign policy 2 semesters, and even then all the units are never completed. And this is a great challenge to me to speak on India's foreign policy, and that too within 30 minutes here, half an hour. So I don't know from where to start, and then a title covers this immediate neighborhood, the neighborhood policies, as well as great powers, also global powers, as the guy said. So if you take this neighbors and the great powers, then what is left out? So since it is not a journalistic kind of lecture, etc., so I will try to combine both some theory and some the practice things, so that it is an academic talk rather than giving the broad narratives of India's foreign policy, how it has evolved over the years. Because that is also an approach, but that will take a lot of time. So I will be starting from I will pick up some theoretical framework, and through that I will try to explain this India's foreign policy. So firstly, what is the foreign policy? In international relations, as a student, we all know that the core concept of international relation is national interest. In fact, the core concept of political science is the concept of power. But concept of power has been defined in terms of national interest. And what is the national interest? National interest again has been subdivided. The core national interest and peripheral national interest. So core national interests are those national interests about which no compromise is possible. It is non-negotiable. So the core national interest is sovereignty, national unity and integrity, independence. So these are the core national interests. No nation can compromise with its national unity and integrity, cannot compromise with its sovereignty, cannot compromise with its national independence, because these are related to its survival. So survival of any species like state also is the prime concern. So core concerns are core national interest, no compromise policy. It is also called the realm of high politics. This core national interest comes into the category of high politics. And then there are peripheral national interests. Peripheral national interests are those interests where compromise is possible, where give and take is possible, where survival is not existing. Where peripheral national interests are also equally important, but at least here give and take, exchange, some concession is possible. So the business, commerce, trade, all these things comes into the peripheral national interest. So here, as far as trade is concerned, business is concerned, commerce is concerned, so here in this area, various kinds of negotiations take place, some kind of concession is given, some kind of concession is also received in the process. So that, and this is also called the realm of low politics. So if first was the high politics, it is the realm of low politics. So any foreign policy aim at protecting, preserving, promoting national interests of a country. And that national interest consists of both the core national interest as well as peripheral. Or you can say high politics or low politics. The same. So all this is true about all foreign policies, including India's foreign policy. Now, there is another theoretical framework I will use, that is the structure and agency debate. Now, question arises: who shapes the national interest? Who makes the foreign policy? Who are the shaper of the foreign policy, maker of the foreign policy? Who determines the policy? So then there is one school of thought that says that actors are important. Actors means decision makers. Actors means Prime Minister, Foreign Minister, Foreign Secretary, Foreign Services, and all those people who have stake in these things. So they are actors. So one school of thought says that it is the actors who determine the foreign policy of a country. And so we are familiar with the Nehru's foreign policy, Indira Gandhi's foreign policy, Morarji Desai's foreign policy, and Gujarat foreign policy. Now Manmohan Singh's foreign policy and Modi's foreign policy. One of my students, Difani Dwivedi, working on only Modi's foreign policy. So here the role of actor, role of decision makers becomes important. So if you are analyzing, studying, looking at the foreign policy from this perspective, the role of personality, the role of actor, then in this way also the foreign policy is studied. So you find contrast, the difference. It is said that Nehru's foreign policy was characterized by ideology. He was idealist. He was not hardcore realist, and that is why at many times he surrendered our national interests also. Because it is said that John Foster Dulles, Foreign Secretary of State, called Nehru and asked him that, okay, America is ready to support India's candidature for permanent membership of the Security Council. Because China has become a communist country, and the so-called nationalist China, that is Taiwan, this is a very small country, a tiny country. The communist China was not even given the membership of the United Nations, and it looks very awkward that a small country like Taiwan is holding the veto power, is permanent member of the Security Council. So he said that in place of Taiwan, in place of nationalist China, because it was from communist China was this main China, and the nationalist China was this Taiwan. So he said that if India agrees, so we can raise this issue in United Nations, and at that time United Nations was dominated by America and its supporters. So this permanent membership can be given to India, but Nehru immediately said no. We will be very happy to be the permanent member of the Security Council, but not at the cost of our neighbor, good neighbor, brother, China. Because at that time we were talking about Hindi, Chini, Bhai Bhai. So how we can stab in the back of our Bhai just to get the permanent membership of the Security Council? So he said no. He said okay, permanent membership is acceptable, but not at the cost of China. Make another seat for us, we'll be happy. But that was not possible anyway. So this is in the debate, but it is questionable. Many have said no, John Foster Dulles never made this offer. Many say no, this offer was made. So it's very difficult to say, because if any conversation which has not been recorded, so how you can say? And John Foster Dulles is not here, and Nehru is not here. Because it was a conversation, telephonic conversation, which was not recorded. So how you can prove it? It's difficult. But anyway, but this shows, this example I am giving because this shows the idealism of Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. So it is said that in one word it is said that Jawaharlal Nehru, who is said to be the architect of India's foreign policy, because Nehru never made any foreign minister. As long as he was the prime minister, he was his own foreign minister. During Nehru's prime ministership, no foreign minister was appointed, so he was his own foreign minister. And even in the Congress time also, when before independence, it was Nehru who was conceptualizing, who was articulating the foreign policy of India. And he also represented the Congress party, the nation, etc. in various global conferences where India was invited. So Nehru was the face, and Nehru is also said to be not only the architect of modern India, he is also the architect of foreign policy. Then it is said Indira Gandhi, she was hardcore realist, and for her this idealism was not a constraint. And you know that how the Nehru's daughter, Indira Gandhi, she joined hand with the Soviet Union, ensured that Pakistan is dismembered, Pakistan is divided into a country, and Pakistan is weakened for once and all, because as long as both the Pakistans were united, so Pakistan was always thinking of itself to be a challenger of India. And the population taken together of both the Pakistan and territory, etc., even then it was less than India. But even then, they were significant force. And sometimes the population and territory is not so important as Israel has proven. You see, the population and territory, so Arab world is much larger in terms of population as well as territory. But even then, when the confrontation has taken place, it has been Israel which has always prevailed rather than the Arab world. So don't go by this population size and territory, etc. So by that logic, Pakistan itself was a challenger to India's power in South Asia and in this region. But after the dismemberment, after the bifurcation of Pakistan, even Pakistani people themselves realized, the leadership realized, the world also realized that now there is no competition between India and Pakistan. India's power can't be restrained, can't be checked. India is far ahead of Pakistan. And Henry Kissinger, who was a great critic of India, who sided with Pakistan during Bangladesh war, who was also instrumental in sending 7th enterprises that was a naval fleet to threaten India during the course of the Bangladesh war, the Pakistan war, and Bangladesh. So Kissinger himself said after the creation of Bangladesh that India is now a preeminent power of South Asia. This is the word used by Henry Kissinger. So Henry Kissinger, Kissinger himself was a hardcore realist. So he said that now you have to accept this India's preeminent position in the South Asian subcontinent. So in the same way you have the Gujarat doctrine also, and you have this actor thing. I will be concluding. Manmohan Singh. Manmohan Singh, his imprint was also there on foreign policy, and Manmohan Singh foreign policy was not that much robust foreign policy, muscular foreign policy that is said about Modi's foreign policy. So Modi is known for his muscular foreign policy, the robust foreign policy. It's a strong response whenever anything has happened. So Modi has responded very strongly. So the point I am making here, again I will come to this thing. So if you are going by the actor structure debate, so here actors becomes important factor in the determination in the making of the foreign policy. These are just examples I have given. So, and in actors not necessarily prime minister, even foreign minister. When Gujarat doctrine came, Indra Kumar Gujarat was foreign minister only. He was not prime minister. Later on he became prime minister. But when his Gujarat doctrine came, so he was a foreign minister only, and unilateral concession to the neighbors. And he said India should be generous, India should be magnanimous, India should give a lot of space to its neighbor, and India should discard this principle of reciprocity, because in foreign policy, in diplomacy, etc., the principles of reciprocity usually invoked here. So he said, okay, we are discarding the principles of reciprocity, unilateral concession to our neighbors, because we have to win over their goodwill. And after all, they were also in comparison to power, so there was this asymmetry was very vast. India was too large, too big, too powerful, and these neighbors were too small, and they were not in position. So she said that India can afford to say the generosity towards the neighbors. So, as far as actor is concerned, so actor doesn't mean he has to be the prime minister. The actor can be the foreign minister also, as in Indian foreign policy, Gujarat doctrine we study. Gujarat was a foreign minister. So if any foreign policy, even in American foreign policy also, more than Nixon, it was Kissinger who was shaping the foreign policy of America. And Kissinger initially was the national security advisor to Nixon government, and later on he became the foreign secretary, they call foreign minister now. So here sometimes Kissinger was playing leading role in the formulation, articulation of American foreign policy rather than President Nixon. So when I say the actor, so actor doesn't mean all the time only head of the state, head of the government. It can be foreign minister, it can be national security, anyone who is calling the shot, who is determining the foreign policy, actor. And then again in the foreign policy meeting also, it is not the work of only one person. It is sometimes it is being articulated by one person through statement, etc. But behind the scene, your team is working. So a lot of people are there. Foreign minister is there, foreign secretary is there, foreign services, Indian foreign services people are there. So a lot of people are there. So here in the structure agency debate, so far this side. Now I am coming to this structure. And here, this structure agency debate, you can bring in another theoretical framework, this realist theory. In realism, in international relations, we all know there are two kinds of realism. One is classical realism, and another is a new realism that is also called structural realism. So in the classical realism, that is also called inside-out approach, and this says that that foreign policy is the extension of domestic policy. So foreign policy is the extension of domestic policy. The domestic factors, domestic environment determines shape the foreign policy of a country. And here, this classical realism that has been articulated in theory by Hans Bergenthal, he has given 6 principles, but first principle is most important, and that says that this foreign policy is determined by certain objective laws, and those objective laws are rooted in the human nature. He has not used the foreign policy, he used the international politics, but I am paraphrasing it. He has used the international politics determined by certain objective laws, which is rooted in the human nature. Here just I am paraphrasing international politics by foreign policy, because foreign policy is also part of international politics. That foreign policy is determined by certain objective laws, and these objective laws are rooted in the human nature. Means human nature is the predominant force. So it is the human nature which determines the foreign policy. Again the actor thing. So he focuses on role of actor. And then again it is said that foreign policy is the extension of domestic policy. So here this one thought is there. Now the second is, and that comes into the actor. The structure is coming into the picture. So structure, the neo-realists, they talk about the structure. So by structure they mean that external environment rather than the domestic politics, it is the international politics. And they say that domestic politics is characterized by hierarchy. By hierarchy they mean you have a set of government from bottom to the top. So that is hierarchy. Bottom to the top, there are from the police constable to the home minister, you have a hierarchy. From a patwari at the village level, you have chief secretary and cabinet secretary, etc. That is hierarchy. So in the domestic politics, set rules are there, hierarchy is there. So if any rules are being violated, etc., it has the mechanism to deal with this thing. So this is the, so in domestic politics is characterized by hierarchy. And this hierarchy, the authority is constituted in hierarchy. And they say the international politics is characterized by anarchy. So anarchy doesn't mean jungle rule. Anarchy doesn't mean jungle rules. Anarchy simply means absence of authority at the international level. So at international level, there is no authority as you have in the national politics. the domestic politics. So at the international level, they call it, Kenneth Ball and others who subscribe to this structure, they call it anarchy. So anarchy means absence of authority at the global level, at the international level. There is no world state and there is no world government. There is no international law and there is no international mechanism which can ensure compliance to the rules, regulation prevailing at the international level. So now, since the international scenario is characterized by anarchy, and in this anarchy, they say there's another concept come that certain powers are more important and certain are less important and certain are insignificant, they don't matter much. So then they come to this thing that global order, international order is always determined by the distribution of power in the international system. And this distribution of power is not even in the international system, it is highly uneven. Some have more power, some have less, and some have almost insignificant power. So on that basis, they say there are great powers, there are middle powers, and there are small powers. And they use the word capabilities because Kenneth was, instead of using the word power, uses the word capability, but you can use it as an interchangeable term, the power and capability. And they say that it is this capability can be measured, it can be quantified. So on the basis of the distribution of power, the shape of the global order is determined. If concentration of power or capability is at one point, then global order will be unipolar world order. And if the concentration of power or capability as a two pole, then it will be the bipolar world order. And if concentration of power is at more than 2 points, then it will be a multipolar world order. But even in the case of multipolarity also, the number of power will not be in 2 digits, it will always be in this single digit. Because the number of great power can always be counted on the finger. Finger means 10, so it has to be in single digit. So even in the multipolar world, doesn't mean that more than 100 becomes a great power. No, it is never the case. They are always in single digit. The number of great powers in any international system, in any international order, world order, global order, can always be counted. So, and then with this, so there are different poles. The concept of polarity is also there. So polarity is created with the concentration of power. Pole means concentration of power, at which point the power has been concentrated. So in this way, on the basis of distribution of power, you have unipolar world, you have bipolar world, you have multipolar world. These are the 3 scenarios. Now, the foreign policy of a country depends upon the nature of the global order, the nature of the world order, international system. So if there is a unipolar world, so foreign policy will be a different kind. If it is a bipolar world, the foreign policy will be of a different kind. If it is a multipolar world, again foreign policy will be different. Just giving you an example. During Cold War period, the foreign policy of all countries, including our own country, India, was different. Because every country had the option of switching over from this superpower to other superpower. Then there is another difference between superpower and great powers. Superpowers are only those powers who have the capability to project its power anywhere in the world, including the outer space also. Because now the future world will be the space world. So the country which has the capability, which has the capacity to project its power in no time, anywhere in this world, on this planet and in the outer space also, only that power can be called superpower. And this superpower in the world history has been only two countries so far. One is the United States of America, another was Soviet Union. Now Soviet Union is not. Because America has the power to project its power anywhere in the world, any ocean, any continent, even outer space also. So this capability is right now with the America only. And that is why we are saying this is unipolar world. Now, during Cold War period, Soviet Union was having the matching capability. Even as we all know, Soviet Union reached space before America. In 1956, Sputnik was launched and Yuri Gagarin was the first human being to go to the space. And he was Russian and Soviet Union. So even Soviet Union was matching America in all the field. And Soviet Union had its power to project its power anywhere. Soviet Union had satellites also, close allies also. Cuba was the next door neighbor of America. Not only Cuba, Nicaragua, El Salvador, many countries they were also closely aligned to Soviet Union. Many African countries were with Soviet Union. Asian countries were with Soviet Union. And Soviet Union had its bases everywhere in the world. So Soviet Union had the power, capability to project its power anywhere in the world. So, but this is the situation in the Cold War period. Since world was bipolar, so India had the option of joining hand with this superpower or that superpower. We all know during the Indo-China war, the Sino-Indian war of 1962, India first approached America, and even America promised to help India. But in the meantime, China declared the ceasefire. So the American assistance became, no need was there. But later on, when India for modernization of its forces approached America, so America was not very helpful. Then for the modernization of its forces, India has the option to approach Soviet Union, and Soviet Union was more cooperative. And in this way, gradually, India kept on getting closer to the Soviet Union. But this was possible because the world was bipolar. India had the option to join America. If America is not coming, then it can move to Soviet Union. It happened with India, it happened with many other countries also. Egypt was closer to America. Then Egypt, there are some differences with America, then Egypt moved to Soviet Union. And the Aswan Dam in Egypt was built by Soviet Union. Then again, because of some reasons, Egypt again shifted towards America. So Egypt first pro-America, then pro-Soviet Union, then again. So this was happening with the many countries. They kept on changing their side. China itself was the close ally of Soviet Union. Later on, they became the close ally of the United States of America. The point I am making here, the foreign policy of all the nations is determined, say, by the international structure, international order. So structural constants becomes important here. So the point I am making, whoever is holding the power, whoever is holding the position, that becomes insignificant. Because it is the international structure, it is the international system, the systemic constraint, structural constraint, they will determine the foreign policy behavior of the country. So here, role of actor is reduced. Take the example of India's foreign policy. So during Cold War, earlier pro-Soviet Union, because Stalin, when India got independence, Stalin said that Nehru, Gandhi, this Congress party itself, is a bourgeois party, they are hand in glove with the bourgeois, protecting the interests of bourgeois. Even Stalin went to this extent of saying this thing, that Indian democracy is the fake democracy, etc. And he was saying that Nehru is in hand in glove with Great Britain and with the United States of America. And they also said this thing that India decided to continue with the membership of the Commonwealth, because its name was British Commonwealth. It was representing British Empire, and India only put this demand that if you remove the word British, you will be member of the Commonwealth. So there is Commonwealth, members of the Commonwealth prove this thing that they are with America, with Great Britain, etc. So Stalin was great critic. He has no faith in Nehru, etc. But later on, we all know that we became very close to Soviet Union. So important thing is here that India had this option of changing the sides during Cold War. So, but when the unipolar world came, when the Soviet Union disintegrated, India lost this option here. Now India was left with no options. You have to develop, cultivate good relations with the sole superpower, only superpower, United States of America. And if you look at the foreign policy of India in the post-Cold War world, in the post-bipolar world, you will find that all Indian leaders are getting closer to the United States of America. And Vajpayee went to the extent of saying this thing, that America is our natural ally. And Manmohan Singh went to the extent of threatening this thing that will sacrifice the government, but we will not compromise with the Indo-US nuclear deal. And eventually, he said that he will leave the prime ministership if this deal is not clinched. And eventually, the deal was negotiated, was signed. So now, because now India, and for that matter all countries, they have no option but to be on good terms with the United States of America. I am illustrating this point by giving you one example, the Kargil war. When Kargil happened in 1998, so when Kargil happened in 1998, it was unipolar world. So both India and Pakistan were reporting to Clinton, and both were getting order from Clinton. Vajpayee was complaining to Clinton that Musharraf is doing this, Pakistan is doing that, Nawaz Sharif is doing that, Nawaz Sharif. So all the complaints Vajpayee took to the Clinton, and the Pakistan did the same. The Nawaz Sharif, Pervez Musharraf, because Nawaz Sharif was the Prime Minister at that time, and Pervez Musharraf was military chief, and in fact Pervez Musharraf was calling the shot. So this, in the same Darbar, India was also approaching the same Darbar, and Pakistan was also approaching the same Darbar because the world was unipolar. During Bangladesh crisis, India was not on talking terms with America, and Pakistan was not on talking terms with Soviet Union. Soviet Union was solidly behind India, and America was solidly behind Pakistan, but that kind of thing was not there. And it was an incident which happened after 20-25 years, because Bangladesh was in 71, and this Kargil happened 98. Within this period, the international politics has changed, the global order has changed. So structural constraint, the systemic constraint, they have changed, because at that time we were working under different constraint, and now we are working under different constraint. So since it was unipolar world, both the parties, India as well as Pakistan, were approaching the America. And you know this thing that India suffered casualty because the Indian Air Force demanded permission from the Vajpayee government, allow us to violate the actual line of control. But since there is pressure from America that respect actual line of control, don't violate it, because of this American sensitivity, because of American dictate, etc., Vajpayee government did not give permission to Indian Air Force to violate the line of actual control, and because of that, India suffered casualties. Because the same, India was also saying that they are respecting line of actual control. Pakistan was also saying that they are respecting line of actual control. Then who are these people? Pakistan was saying, I don't know, they are Kashmiri freedom fighters, we call them freedom fighters. They are local Kashmiri people, we have nothing to do. Even when Pakistani soldiers died, Pakistan refused to take their dead bodies because they said they are infiltrated, they are not Pakistani army people, etc. So they were saying that this is the India's internal problem. These are the They don't call them terrorists. We call them terrorists. They call them freedom fighters. So they say that they are Kashmiri militants, and India was saying that they are regular Pakistani army people. But both the countries are making this claim to Clinton, to America, that we are respecting line of actual control. We have not violated it. We have not gone to other side. So the point I am making here, it was unipolar world. So that is why India and Pakistan were compelled to formulate and articulate their foreign policy, keeping this factor in mind. Now, it is being argued in international politics. The word is again changing because the word never is fixed. The word is always changing. In the word of Heraclitus, we can say, as Heraclitus has said, that you can't step twice in the same river because by the time you are taking another step, another water has come in. So in the same way as Heraclitus says that you can't step twice in the same river, it is constantly changing. In the same way, the world is also constantly changing. So this unipolarity, whether America remains to be unipolar, it's difficult to say because China is gradually emerging also. So that is why you can see the shift in the foreign policy posture of many countries. So now many countries are not taking that much seriously the party of America's thing because they have one option of approaching China itself. So in the agent structure debate, going back to my own argument, there is one school of thought which said that it is the actors which determines the foreign policy behavior of the state. There are another group who say that actors are insignificant. The policy towards a country can't be changed because of the change of the foreign policy, foreign secretary, foreign minister and prime minister. So in the structure agency debate, one says that it is the structure, global structure, international system that matters in the formulation and articulation of foreign policy. And then another school of thought says no, it is the person, actor. And it has, so I have given in the meantime the classical realism, the structural realism, etc. And foreign policy is always characterized by continuity and change. There is always change and there is always continuity. If you see India's strategic thinking, India's strategic policy, so Lord Curzon more than 100 years back, I think in 1900 something, he has drawn the strategic line, strategic frontier of this country. And there is that strategic line drawn by Lord Curzon is still relevant. Our strategic thinker is still thinking in the same Lord Curzon's way that if India has to be defended, so our defense has to be from here. So that has not changed. And so there is a not radical change in the foreign policy. So foreign policy is always characterized by continuity and is also characterized by change. Then there are many principles how we can forget our Kautilya. Kautilya says that Mandela theory, that your enemy's enemy is friend and immediate neighbors can't be your friend. In Mandela theory, your immediate neighbors can't be your friend. By applying the same logic, you can say that none of our neighbors can be a true friend because going by the Mandela theory. But enemy's enemy is your friend. By this, using the same logic, Pakistan has befriended China because India's enemy, Pakistan, and that is Pakistan is friend of China. India's enemy, China, and so enemy's enemy is friend, so Pakistan. Now Pakistan and China, their friendship is so strong that one Pakistani diplomat has said that India or Pakistan-China relation is taller than mountains Himalaya, deeper than ocean, and sweeter than honey. So this kind of relationship with China has with Pakistan, and they call it all-weather friends. So it's all-weather friends. So China, so here Mandela theory also becomes relevant here. So enemy is enemy, and not only about India, even the Caribbean countries, the small Caribbean countries, they are neighbor of America. The same thing they say that this is their misfortune that history, geography has made them the neighbor of America. Since they are neighbor of America, America doesn't listen. They have to listen America only. So by applying this mandala theory even by Chanakya, you can also try to decipher, understand the foreign policy. Let's say very well. Now Vietnam is enemy of China. Now India, Vietnam is good friends. India, Vietnam have very close relations. Philippines is the enemy of China. The Philippines has become good friend. When we study, we have given the one BrahMos का जो पूरा काफी खेप जो हमको पहुंचा दिया गया. Because we can't give BrahMos to China, but happily giving it to Philippines, because Philippines and America relations are strained. So here this. So here and this structure agency debate you can use for understanding the foreign policy of any country and that applies to India also. And the two more theories I will use, and then I will find out because it will take another time. Foreign policies, there is another theoretical framework for international liberalism. So international liberalism talks about harmony, talks about cooperation, because realism talks about conflict, rivalry, competition, the geopolitical rivalry, competition. But this liberalism is a rival theory, and liberalism, instead of looking at the conflict, look at the cooperation. And both have their basic premises are different, because realism is based on Hobbesian description of human nature, and you know Hobbesian description of human nature, the man seeks power and his desire for power ceases only with his death. But here liberalism is based on Lockean concept of human nature, and he said that man has love, affection, goodwill, cooperation towards his fellow being. So primarily human being is good. So this realism based on Hobbesian description of human nature, liberalism based on Lockean description of human nature, and here they focus on the positive aspect of the human nature, the cooperation, etc. And in international relation, this liberalism has been developed in many theories. The most important theory is the theory of complex interdependence. The complex interdependence, this theory has been developed by Robert Cohen, Joseph Nye, etc. So in complex interdependence, and this is also called Coburg model of world politics, and this realist is called the billiard ball model of world politics. So it's Coburg model of world politics. So here all are intertwined. So all are so interdependent here. So they can't be separated. So in this interdependent world, now the globalized world, so they say that there is just scope for cooperation, and they talk about the theory of absolute gain. So theory of absolute gain means if you are cooperating, if the nations are cooperating, everybody will be the winner. No one is loser. So the liberals talk about the absolute gain, where everyone is gainer. It's true, someone is gaining more, someone is gaining less, but everybody is gaining. Everybody is gainer, everybody is winner, and no one is loser in this cooperation. This is realism. This is liberalism. But realists talk about the relative gain. So the relative gain argument say that who is gaining how much? If your enemy is gaining more and you are gaining less, then no cooperation. Because we cannot allow our enemy to gain more and we are getting less. And that is why at the last moment India said nothing doing, we will not be part of RCEP, Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership. You must have heard it. India was part of the negotiation. But when India realized that we will be gaining little and China will be gaining more, so why we should allow China to gain more if India would have adopted this liberal argument of absolute gain, where China is gaining, India is gaining, so then India would have become part of it. But India relied on this realist perspective of relative gain, where China's more gaining is not acceptable to India. So then India said, okay, we are coming out of RCP, they did not. So cooperation is also there. If you look at the foreign policy also, India's foreign policy, often we talk about China. You will be surprised to see this India-China cooperation. In fact, conflict is very little, the cooperation is more. 2 years, 3 years back, 90% of the students were having the Chinese cell phone in their pocket. Now I think things have changed, now India is exporting it. But 5-6 years back, all the cell phones were from China. You see the value of trade between India and China. It's a more than $100 billion trade. And you all know that trade happens only when your interest is there. Because if you are not gaining, you will not enter into any commercial contract. If your enemy is selling something cheaper and your friend is selling the same product at the higher rate, you will buy from your enemy rather than buying it from friend, because your friend is cheating, charging more. The same thing is happening with India. If India has to buy from America or Europe, India has to pay more. But if India is buying from China, they have to pay less. So we hate them, we abuse them, but we buy from them because it is cheaper. I am just giving one example. During Manmohan Singh time, because of national security concern, the telecom companies, because telecom was coming up at that time, and the power companies, they were procuring their equipments, power equipments and telecom equipment from China. But then national security issue was there, then Manmohan Singh government issued directives to all the corporate houses, etc. Because this telecom sector was evolving and the power sector was evolving under the private sector. Say that don't procure your equipment from Chinese source, procure it from other than Chinese source. Other than means if not China, then Europe and America. Then Indian corporate houses, they came with this argument and convinced the government of India, you can't do that. If you are denying the Chinese equipment and if you are forcing us to buy European and American equipments, then we can't give the cheaper collar rate to the consumers. We can't give power at the cheaper rate to the consumer. We will raise the power tariff, we will raise the call rates. Then government of India said, नहीं भैया बिजली सस्ता रखो, टेलीफोन लोगों को सस्ते में दो, कॉल रेट मत बढ़ाओ, कनेक्शन भी करना है और जहाँ से मर्जी हो वहाँ से करो. So then eventually this Chinese import of telecom equipment, power equipment continued. So the point I am making here, India and China, and there are many institutional liberalism, institutional liberalism. If you apply this institutional liberalism, then India and China, they are part of trilateral framework, Russia, India, China. They are part of Shanghai Cooperation Organization, and Shanghai Cooperation Organization is also part of ASEAN NATO. It is a defense organization, not a business commercial thing. India is part of that. India is part of BRICS, Brazil, Russia, India, China. Now it has been expanded further. India is part of BASICS, Brazil, India, China. The basic acronym was coined in Denmark, this UN Framework Convention on Climate Change, where climate issues involved India and China are the same page. When multilateral trade issue is there, then India and China are the same page. When the restructuring of the Bretton Woods institution is there, Bretton Woods institution, the IMF and World Bank, then India and China are at the same page, because both are demanding that non-European, non-American must have a greater say in IMF and World Bank. Then, despite not liking India is part of ASEAN Infrastructure Investment Bank, India has taken huge loan from Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank. India is also part of new democratic bank of BRICS, and both are Chinese promoted. So if you see this cooperation between India and China, The same thing can be said about other countries also. So this word is so complex. So this Cohen and May say this is a complex interdependence because of various reasons. The word is so, this is a complex interdependence. So the common word is there, where this war is not possible, and that is why whenever India and China tension has escalated, eventually it has been brought down. Because other calculations comes into the picture. China also knows that in full-fledged war, India will be loser, China will be loser. And why China should lose this advantageous position? Because every year they are making $100 billion. The trade surplus, the trade deficit between India and China is now $100 billion. So why they will lose this lucrative trade with India? They are not gaining much from Pakistan. Pakistan is a kind of liability, but they are not making money from Pakistan, making money from India. The total cost of CPEC, China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, earlier it was $40 billion, now it has been raised to $60 billion because of the cost to earn has been because of the period has increased. So even, and you see the China is making $100 billion from India trade. Means by using the trade surplus earned from India trade, can use it to finance not one but two CPEC every year. $100 billion trade surplus, $60 billion. So from 1 year profit they can fund two CPEC, China-Pakistan economic. So this procedure. So the point I am making this liberalism can also be used to explaining the foreign policy behavior of the country. Now trade, commerce, business is a globalized world. We are more concerned about this. Now we say that age of geopolitics is over. Now we have entered into the age of geoeconomics, where economic factors are more important and they are shaping the foreign policy behavior of our country. So I have created a kind of confusion among all of you because I have been bringing in many theories here and there and then explaining the things. Finally, the social constructivism, I will talk and conclude the talk because I have already exceeded the time given by Chancellor. She has given 30 minutes only and I think already approaching 1 hour. So the social constructivism is the last theoretical framework. I will talk and then conclude. Other are also there, word system is also there, Marxist theory is also there, but that I don't have time. So social constructivism, because it is one of the leading theory of internal circulation. That is why any discussions of internal circulation should not be treated as completed unless and until we are not talking about social constructivism. So social constructivism, they say here, the Alexander Went is the main theoretician. He said the anarchy is what state make of. For Kenneth Wall, anarchy is fixed, anarchy is given, anarchy is objective. But for constructivists, the social constructivists, because social constructivists are not supporter of objective theory, they talk about this subjective theory. Social constructivism are part of postmodernism, and social constructivists believe that there is no final truth, there is no objective truth. Any so-called truth is a relative truth determined by the time and the space. So the concept of absolute truth, final truth, etc. is not there. In fact, any so-called truth is a relative truth, not absolute, depending upon time. And instead of being objective, it is a subjective. So here, anarchy, they say it is given, Kenneth Wall, here they said it is not given, but it is constructed. And in this construction, many subjective factors comes into the picture. So the foreign policy depends upon the perception of the same anarchical world. When the foreign policy determined by the perception of the regional and global structure, and for Kenneth Wall, this global and regional structure is fixed, given, objective, but for social constructivism, this regional and global structure is subjective, is dynamic, is in fluid situation, keep on changing, etc. Just opposite. And here with one example of India's foreign policy, I will conclude. You see this Manmohan Singh's foreign policy posture of Manmohan Singh and Modi's foreign policy posture. The word was the same. The Manmohan Singh word and Modi's word, there was hardly any difference. Because the word before 2014 and word after 2014 was not different. The same word. It was a continuation. So if you go by the Kenneth Walls structural realism, then there has to be no difference between Modi's foreign policy response and Manmohan Singh's foreign policy response. But their foreign policy response has been different. So by using Kenneth Walls logic, by using John Mercimer's logic of structural realism, you can't explain the different kind of foreign policy behavior of Manmohan Singh government and Modi government. Here, social constructivism can solve your problem, because social constructivism says the same word can be viewed, can be perceived differently by two different persons. Just one example of surgical strike. Modi conducted surgical strike not once but twice, and they say that now if Pakistan is indulging in the terrorist activities, immediately it will be responded and the military strike will be there. So when the Uri attack happened, immediately after Uri attack, India conducted surgical strike, went inside Pakistan. So now when the surgical strike was conducted, then some people associated with the Manmohan Singh government also came out publicly. They said the surgical strike was conducted in Manmohan Singh time also. Now the point here is, when surgical strike was conducted, why the word was not told? Why the nation was not told? Why it was kept as a closely guarded secret? And now when Modi has conducted surgical strike, so now you are saying that we have also done. So the reason is that Manmohan Singh was afraid of escalation of conflict. Surgical strike happened, but they kept it closely guarded secret, because they say that if they indulge in propaganda, it might lead to escalation, and India and Pakistan both being a nuclear state, this escalation might lead to nuclear war, and it will be the kind of harakiri. The mad mutual assured destruction will come into picture. They will be mutually destroying each other. So that logic was there. So Modi's, the Manmohan Singh perception of the regional structure and global structure was different. Manmohan Singh was scared of global response, regional response, Pakistan response, and escalation of the conflict, and that is why it kept him on. Now Modi not only conducted a strike, but shouted from the rooftop that we have done it. So initially the opposition said no, it is a fake. Modi always indulges in these kind of things. It is a lie. So firstly they denied it, and later on they said this is certain. And then they said only few cattle have died, only few trees were destroyed, etc. Various kinds of things. 2 times they conducted, Balakot and Uri. So both the time it was disputed by the Congress party that the surgical strike has not done. So the point is, why Modi was shouting from the rooftop? Because Modi was not afraid of escalation here. He took the calculated risk here. Come what may, we will teach a lesson. So he was ready to pay the price. So the point I am making here is, by using the social constructivism theory, the word was same, region was same, but the perception of the word and region of Modi and Manmohan Singh was entirely different. And this difference of response can be explained only by using the theory of social constructivism, because social constructivism here perception matters, and perception, one man's perception will be definitely different from another man's perception. So here social constructivism is also important. So by using this thing you can also explain certain foreign policy posture behavior. Okay, in this way, by using many theories, etc., still many theories are there, all are not possible in one lecture, because we teach this Indian foreign policy paper throughout the year. Many things, your neighborhood policy, global relation, etc., I have left out because most of the narrative, you know most of the things there. But if you are asking any, because you said that probably 4 or 5 questions he has also permitted. So in those questions they are coming, so I will be answering those things. And kindly forgive me. She has given me half an hour, and probably I have taken more than an hour. So thank you so much for patiently listening me. And thank you, Chanchal, for giving me this opportunity. I am very, very happy. I have delivered many lectures here and there, everywhere. But this is the first lecture I am delivering from my heart, and the credit goes to you.
Thank you so much, sir, for your enlightening lecture. We got to know a lot of information regarding the history of foreign policies and views on various school of thoughts, along with various theories related to this. Your expertise has illuminated the complexities of India's foreign policy, shift in South Asia, providing us with invaluable insights. Now, I would like to open the floor for any questions from sir.
Please raise your hands.
Yes, please.
Actually, we don't have the cordless mic, so.
ठीक है बोलो बच्चों क्लास में
Good afternoon, sir. Myself, Ayush Markas from FSS BHU, third year Political Science Honours student. First of all, thanks to enlighten us. Sir, my question is that, as Kenneth was said, that international order is an anarchical order. So, is there any scope to establish any super state? Because at the moment of speaking, when I am speaking currently right now, there is a so-called super state that is UN, and its principal organ regarded as its principal organ that is UNGA, United Nations General Assembly, regarded as the World Parliament, but it is not effective as we want. So is there any method or any mode to establish any super state so that the superpower can can realize any balance of power against them? Sir, if it be happen, then Kenneth will be the happiest person after this mandate.
चलिए ठीक है आपने हमको और भी बैठे आपने हमको एक और मौका दे दिया एक और थियरी के बारे में एक थियरी है इंस्टीट्यूशनल लिबरलिज्म मेरी आवाज आ रही है कि
Yes, sir, आ रही है.
There is one theory called institutional liberalism. Woodrow Wilson said that by using the institutions we will transform this world from a jungle to a zoo. I am quoting Woodrow Wilson. He said that by using the global institutions of global governance, and the United Nations is one, League of Nations is one. So he said that by using the global institutions for governance, Woodrow Wilson aimed at transforming this wild world into a zoo. You know the zoo? The wild animals are there, but they are kept in a cage. So they are regulated. Their behavior is regulated under control. So they are not violent. So global institutions are there. But these global institutions' effectiveness is the questionable.
Yes.
Because League of Nations was created, and League of Nations failed to prevent the Second World War. Within no time, League of Nations was created in 1920 most probably, after Treaty of Versailles, and the Second World War broke out in 1939. And even between this period also, it was not a period of peace. E.S. Carr calls it a period of crisis. He has written a 20-year crisis report. So he said it is not a period of peace, the 20 years between two world wars. It was a period of conflict, crisis, etc. So all the nations were making preparation for another war. So institutions of global governance, anarchy can be mitigated. Now this is the argument between liberals and realists. Realists say anarchy can't be mitigated. Liberals say anarchy can be mitigated. Now it's up to you that whether you are going for liberal argument or going for realist argument. If you are going for realist argument, that anarchy can't be mitigated, anarchy can't be regulated. And if you are going for the liberal argument, then definitely anarchy can be mitigated, global governance institutions can be created, and world state can be created, world government can be created, and in the direction to the world state and world government is United Nations, its affiliated agencies, And for economic governance, the Bretton institutions, all these have been created for the Bretton institutions, for the global economic governance, United Nations and its different agencies, for the political governance, etc. So this process is underway. But these institutions of global governance has not been able to provide effective peace, etc. Because when the smaller power are involved, then these institutions of global governance are very effective. But when the great powers are involved, then the global governance institutions are effective. In 2003, America said that they are going to attack Iraq and they have to remove Saddam Hussein from power. Means Iraqi will not decide whether Saddam Hussein will remain in power or not. America will take the decision. They said that regime change. That regime change is on their agenda. And they said the United Nations is helping us. Fine, even if the United Nations is not helping us, even passing resolution against us, even then we do. Many resolutions were passed against American invasion of 2003 in General Assembly, but that was of no use. In Security Council, no resolution can be passed against America because America itself is the member of the Security Council immediately vetoed. And not only America, others will also veto it. France will veto it. Britain will veto it. I think except China, all will veto it. So there is no possibility of getting the resolution passed in the Security Council. And Security Council has been given the responsibility to establish peace, order, stability, security in the world, not the General Assembly. The General Assembly, as you said, a talking shop. So talking shop is there only as a rituals, the resolutions are passed under that is of no use. So where great powers are involved. So these institutions of global governance are there. So the anarchy you are talking about, the anarchy when global this great powers are involved, that it is helpless. And even if you take another institutions of global governance, there is International Court of Justice. The International Court of Justice, by following this international law on sea conventions क्या है?
Yes, UNCLOS.
हाँ, तो उसके जो है उसको फॉलो करते हुए उन्होंने Philippines had taken a case in ICJ, and on Philippines case, ICJ given a verdict in favor of Philippines against China, और चाइना ने कहा हम मानते ही नहीं कौन क्या फालतू ICJ क्या कर रहा है. Now the world has no कैपेबिलिटी कैपेसिटी ना तो फिलीपींस के पास भी है, दूसरे पूरे विश्व के पास भी नहीं कि आईसीजे के रेजोल्यूशन को कराएंगे. चाइना का मैं मानता ही नहीं. क्या कर ले रहे? तो जो आप एनआरकी की बात कर रहे हैं कि वर्ल्ड स्टेट बन जाएगा, वर्ल्ड गवर्नमेंट बन जाएगा, यूनाइटेड नेशंस हैं, ढेर सारे ग्लोबल गवर्नेंस बन जाएगा, लेकिन ये हेल्पलेस हैं जब ग्रेट पावर्स की बात आती है. छोटे पावर होंगे मालदीव, भूटान जैसे थे, तब आप सब वहाँ वो ले आएंगे और वहाँ पे जो है बोस्निया, हर्जेगोविना, कोसो, यहाँ पे सब चलता है. अमेरिका आ गया, उन्होंने स्लोबोदान मिलोसेविच को उठा के जेल में बंद कर दिया. तब इंटरनेशनल क्रिमिनल कोर्ट आ जाएगा. राइट टू रिस्पांसिबिलिटी टू प्रोटेक्ट इंडिया प्रिंसिपल्स आ गया. ह्यूमैनिटेरियन इंटरवेंशन आ जाएगा. ढेर सारे चीज़. जब छोटे देश इन्वॉल्व होंगे, जब बड़ा देश इन्वॉल्व होगा तो पूरा बुझिए. तो जो एनआरकी की बात कर रहे हैं, एनआरकी रियलिटी वर्ल्ड स्टेट, वर्ल्ड गवर्नमेंट अभी मुझे फ्यूचर में पॉसिबल नहीं लग रहा. जब आपको मेरा ख्याल मिल गया होगा, न मिला होगा तो फिर आप बताइए. थैंक यू सो मच सर.
Any further questions?
इंडिया ने सबसे पहले 1954 में तिब्बत को एज ए इंटीग्रल पार्ट ऑफ चाइना एक्सेप्ट किया था. फिर वो 1960 में ड्रॉप करता है. फिर 2003 में क्या फोर्स करता है या वो फिर से वो एक्सेप्ट करता है. तो सेकंड क्वेश्चन ये है सर कि इंडिया जैसे आर्टिस्ट
एक ही क्वेश्चन ले लें. चाइना लेते हैं. इंडिया ने चाइना को जो इंडिया चाइना एग्रीमेंट हुआ था 54 में, वो जो 54 में एग्रीमेंट हुआ था उसमें उन्होंने इंडिया तिब्बत को मान लिया था. ठीक है. तब से इंडिया ने अभी तक ये नहीं कहा है कि तिब्बत इज नॉट इंटीग्रल पार्ट ऑफ चाइना. बहुत ढेर सारे हमारे इंडिया के पॉलिसी मेकर्स हैं, वो कह रहे हैं कि 5th पार्ट एक्ट में इंडिया को अब तिब्बत को चाइना का इंटीग्रल पार्ट नहीं मानना चाहिए. लेकिन अभी हम लोग साहस नहीं कर पाए हैं. अभी तक हम चीन को, हमारा कोई भी राष्ट्रपति प्रधानमंत्री कुछ चाहता है तो वो उससे कहलवाई लेते हैं कि जो कम्युनिके जारी होती है उसमें एक लाइन लिखवाई देते हैं कि मतलब इंडिया ट्रीट्स तिब्बत एज ए इंटीग्रल पार्ट ऑफ चाइना, चाहे कुछ ना लिखवा, ये लाइन जरूर वो लोग लिखवाते हैं। तो अभी तक इंडिया ने अपना स्टैंड चेंज नहीं किया है, और इंडिया तो ये भी नहीं कर रहा कि ताइवान इज नॉट इंटीग्रल पार्ट ऑफ चाइना, वो भी नहीं कह रहा है। इंडिया ने ताइवान को भी रिकग्निशन नहीं दे रखा है, उनके डिप्लोमेटिक रिलेशन तो नहीं, कॉन्सुलर रिलेशन है वो दूसरे टाइप के हैं, उसको एज ए वो, क्योंकि चाइना के संस्कृति वहाँ इन्वॉल्व, और इंडिया के ढेर सारे देशों में नहीं कर रखा है ताइवान की जो। तो समस्या ये है, कई लोग ये कह रहे हैं कि भाई चाइना को टिट फॉर टैट, जैसे को तैसा की भाषा में सिखाई। अब चाइना अगर जो यदि आपके तिब्बत को हमारा हिस्सा नहीं मान रहा है, मतलब यदि वो हमारा अरुणाचल को भारत का हिस्सा नहीं मान रहा है, तो हम तिब्बत को उसका हिस्सा क्यों मान रहे हैं? लेकिन हमने अभी ये नहीं किया। तो हमने जो चाइना पॉलिसी थी, हम जो चाइना में तिब्बत को चाइना का ही, हाँ ये हम मांग करते हैं कि तिब्बत को ऑटोनॉमी दी जाए, तिब्बत को ऑटोनॉमस स्टेटस दिया जाए, तिब्बत को ऑटोनॉमी दी जाए, ये ज़्यादा हुआ है। और तिब्बत, लेकिन हमने तिब्बत को जो हुआ था 54 का अग्रीमेंट, पंचिल के बाद के भारत तक तिब्बत को उसका अविभाज्य अंग मानना है, कोई चेंज नहीं है। हाँ, पॉलिसी लेवल पे उस समय भी लोहिया ने विरोध किया था कि हमने क्यों इसको मान लिया, हमको ये में क्या मिला, चाइना ने तो कुछ भी हमको नहीं दिया। तो ये बात है, हमारा तिब्बत को, हमें नहीं, विश्व के सभी देश तिब्बत को उसका मान, अमेरिका भी तिब्बत को अलग देश नहीं मान रहा है। तो तिब्बत की स्थिति बहुत ही जो है, अमेरिका की पावर, चाइना की पावर के आगे लगभग सब लाचार है। बस यही कहते हैं कि तिब्बत में ह्यूमन राइट्स का उल्लंघन न हो, तिब्बत के जो कल्चर राइट्स है उनकी इज्जत की जाए, तिब्बत की जो ऑटोनॉमी है उनको ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा ऑटोनॉमी दी जाए, यही सब बात है। ठीक है, तिब्बत का क्वेश्चन ये हो गया चाइना का, उसमें इंडिया ने कोई चेंज नहीं किया। और क्या बोल रहे थे आप?
What was the foreign policy of India during 1971 Indo-Pakistan war?
इंडिया पाकिस्तान वार में इंडिया का रिलेशन पाकिस्तान से
नहीं, चाइना की टुवर्ड्स क्या फॉरेन पॉलिसी थी?
चाइना के, देखिए 71 में there was expectation from Pakistani side that China might intervene in favor of Pakistan, but that did not happen. Even forget about 71, 65 this expectation was more, because 62 India-China war has happened, and immediately after that India has lost badly, and then probably Ayub Khan thought that now India is in weaker position, this is the best time to attack India and capture the Kashmir. So with this objective they attacked India, but even at that in 65 war also China only gave lip service, statement in favor of Pakistan, but literally China never intervened, and that was the expectation hope of Pakistan by China. So that did not happen. 71 में भी उतने, जब 65 में नहीं किया तो 71 में क्यों करेगा? 71 में भी they were with Pakistan, only paying lip service, statement after statement in favor of Pakistan. They always said that Pakistan's territorial unity and integrity should be protected, should be preserved, should be maintained, should be respected, and India is a, तो जो स्टेटमेंट थे वो हमेशा पाकिस्तान में, लेकिन लिटरली 71 में भी नहीं किया, नहीं किया। और इसमें बहुत से लोग जो हमारे इंडिया बैठे हुए चाइना के पक्ष में बोलते हैं, क्या भी करना है कि 65 में भी नहीं किया, 71 में भी नहीं किया, और अंतिम जो भारत और चीन के सैनिकों के मध्य जो झड़प हुई थी वो 1967 में नाथुला में हुई थी, जिसमें 6 या 7 सैनिक मारे गए थे। और 67 के बाद जो है 2020 में दूसरी झड़प हुई जिसमें जान गई, 67 से 20 पता नहीं कितना साल है, तो काफ़ी लंबा पीरियड है, 50 साल, 53 साल। तो 53 साल तक भारत और चीन के बीच में कोई शूटिंग वार नहीं हुआ, और जो उनके सैनिक हैं कॉन्फिडेंस बिल्डिंग मेजर्स आ गया है, मतलब बिना बंदूक के वो पेट्रोलिंग करते हैं, और वो ठीक है, कोई मित्र नहीं है, दूसरे को आंख दिखाते हैं, धक्का मारते हैं, और आपने फोटो देखे होंगे वो पत्थर उत्तर उठा के मारते हैं, लेकिन बंदूक नहीं चलते, तो बंदूक उनको दी जाती पेट्रोलिंग के लिए। वो लोग डंडे से मारते हैं, पत्थर से मारते हैं, वो बाबा आदिम जमाने के जो लड़ाई के तरीके हैं वो सब घुसा उठा भी मारते हैं, गुस्सा भी होते हैं, उठा के पटकते भी हैं, लेकिन गोली नहीं चलती। शूटिंग मार ये जो 20 तो मर गए उसमें वो ढकेल के गिरा दिए नदी में, ठंडी में एक बार भर गए, बह गए उसी में। और बता रहे हैं वो कुछ डंडे लेके आए तो उसमें कुछ कील उड़ बांधे हुए थे, तो वो डंडे से पीट के मार डाले, मतलब शूटिंग वार नहीं। तो ये कॉन्फिडेंस बिल्डिंग बिजनेस और तो इतने 53 साल के बाद तो अगर जो इंडिया पाकिस्तान पे तो रोज ही होती रहती है फायरिंग, रोज फायरिंग होती रहती है। अक्सर हमारे सैनिकों का सर काट ले जाते हैं, आँख उनकी फोड़ देते हैं, ये ब्रुटलिटी कई बार दिखाई जाती है। लेकिन ये जो है ठीक है, टेंस रिलेशंस हैं, लेकिन मतलब जो है धक्का-मुक्की करते हैं। लेकिन शूटिंग वार 67 में हुआ था, उसके बाद फिर गलवान में हुआ 53 साल बाद। तो ये बॉर्डर मतलब सेटल नहीं है, लेकिन बाई एंड लार्ज पीसफुल है। तो चाइना के थिंकर हैं सुतुजू का किताब है आर्ट ऑफ वार, उसमें उन्होंने कहा है कि द स्वीटेस्ट विक्ट्री आर दोज विक्ट्री विच आर अचीव्ड विदाउट वेजिंग द वार। सबसे बढ़िया जीत वो होती है जो बिना युद्ध की ही जीत लिया जाए। दैट इज कॉल्ड आर्ट ऑफ डिसेप्शन, धोखाधड़ी छल कपट वाला। तो चाइना ने इस पॉलिसी को रखते हुए आर्ट ऑफ डिसेप्शन, स्ट्रेटेजी ऑफ डिसेप्शन, उसके थ्रू वो लेके आए और इस्लामी स्लाइसिंग स्ट्रेटेजी के तहत पूरा ईस्ट चाइना थी, साउथ चाइना से पूरा कुछ जितना था 9 डैश लाइन को कब्जा कर लिया था। और दूसरे लोगों ने मान लिया भाई तुम्हारा है, तुम शक्तिशाली आदमी हो। वही इस्लामी स्लाइसिंग स्ट्रेटेजी जो उन्होंने सक्सेसफुली साउथ चाइना ईस्ट चाइना जो किया उसको अप्लाई कर रहे थे हिमालयन रीजन। और हिमालयन रीजन में जो है, हिमालयन रीजन मतलब भारत ऊपर झंझट कर गया। तो इस्लामी स्लाइसिंग स्ट्रेटेजी के तहत धीरे धीरे हमारी टेरिटरी को दे आर निबलिंग अवर टेरिटरी, ग्रेजुअली ऑक्युपाइंग अवर टेरिटरी। अभी वो पता नहीं वो क्या नाम है उसका, सोनम बांगचू कह रहा है कि भाई ढेर सारा हमारा ग्रेजिंग एरिया था जो वो चाइना ने कब्जा कर लिया, नहीं जाने दे रहे, ऐसा उसका कुछ अखबार करता है। तो वो धीरे धीरे कर रहा, जो हमारा जो सोल्जर्स जो पेट्रोलिंग कर रहे थे, बहुत से पेट्रोलिंग पॉइंट ब्लॉक कर दिया उन्होंने। तो ग्रेजुअली दे आर निबलिंग अवर टेरिटरी एंड दिस स्ट्रेटेजी स्ट्रेटेजी डिसेप्शन वाला, छल कपट वाला धोखा वहाँ और तो वो सब तो कर हो रहे हैं। लेकिन अब जहाँ एसिमेट्रिकल रिलेशन रहते हैं, ये आपके बगल में बैठे हुए हैं, ज़्यादा डिस्कोर्स हैं, आपको एक घूसा मारते हैं तो आप सोचते हैं कि अगर इसको भी एक घूसा मारे तो 3-4 और मारेगा, तो सोचते हैं एक ही मारे चलो ठीक हुआ। तो वो एसिमेट्रिकल जैसे हिलता है। स्टेट के बीच में भी यही होता है, पावरफुल स्टेट को आदमी छोड़ा सकते हैं, क्योंकि आप सोचे भी एक ही घूसा मारेगा, इसको मारेगा तो 3-4 और मार देगा, फिर आप क्या करेंगे? हम हमेशा घाटे में रहेंगे। तो बेटर मतलब जस्ट इग्नोर इट, आई डोंट नो व्हाट इज दैट। ये जो आपका क्या क्वेश्चन था, आई डोंट नो पॉलिटिक्स क्या
इंडिया का फॉरेन पॉलिसी टुवर्ड्स चाइना।
हाँ, चाइना में मिले थे तो 71 में उसने नहीं किया, 65 में नहीं किया, अभी भी जो है। और निगोशिएशन हमारा लगातार चल रहा है, बातचीत हम कर रहे हैं, विश्व रिकॉर्ड हो गया है बातचीत। उसमें हम तो गिन ही नहीं पा रहे कितने राउंड हो गए, तो गड़बड़ा जा रहा है काउंटिंग ही मतलब राउंड, बट बातचीत चल रही है, होपफुली सब आउटकम विल कम। हाँ, बचा ना।
My question is about anarchy. Talking about anarchy. Anarchy is quite subjective term. Perhaps anarchy has different meanings. A lot of anarchy. Now, realist scholars have also accepted this thing that some states have anarchy attenuation power. Though it cannot be mitigated, but it can be attenuated at some point. So my question is, sir, why India is attenuating anarchy in its sphere of influence? We have seen Maldives opposing India, and Nepal, Bangladesh, we are not quite confident about this, our relationship. So why India is telling it is? Is it because of our over-dependence upon soft power, or continuation of withdrawal of currency now, one way only contributing, one way expecting nothing from it? Or what is the reason that India is taking
देखिए पहला आपका क्वेश्चन ये एनार्की जो सब्जेक्टिव है, एनार्की सब्जेक्टिव कुछ के लिए है कुछ के लिए नहीं है। मैंने बार बार कहा कि केनेथ वाल्स कहता है एनार्की सब्जेक्टिव या ऑब्जेक्टिव है, और उसी की एनार्की ऑब्जेक्टिव है, वही गंडरलैंड का मेन क्रिटिसिज्म है। केनेथ वाल्स, जर्मन साइमर, ये जितने भी रियलिस्ट वाले हैं, स्ट्रक्चर रियलिज्म मानते हैं, वो बोलते हैं एनार्की इज गिवन, एनार्की इज ऑब्जेक्टिव। वो ऑब्जेक्टिव रियलिटी आपकी पावर पे उसको डिपेंड करती है, वो पावर पे उसमें जो पावरफुल कंट्री है अपना मनमानी कर रहा है, क्योंकि वर्ल्ड एनार्किकल है, कोई वर्ल्ड स्टेट है नहीं, वर्ल्ड गवर्नमेंट है नहीं। अमेरिका जो चाहे जो कर ले रहा है, चाइना चाहे जो चाहे कर ले रहा है, मालदीव नहीं कर सकता, भूटान नहीं कर सकता है। मालदीव भूटान भी कर सकता है जब उसके पीछे कोई बड़ा पावर आके खड़ा हो जाए। अभी मालदीव ध्यान रहा है कि चाइना उसके पीछे खड़ा है। अब हम अगर जो मालदीव पे हम कुछ करते हैं और मालदीव अपने सॉवरेन राइट को यूज़ करते हुए चाइना से हेल्प मांगता है, तो क्या स्थिति होगी? और चाइना उसको हेल्प करेगा और फिर वर्ल्ड कम्युनिटी भी हमारे खिलाफ जाएगी। भाई मालदीव एक इंडिपेंडेंट स्टेट है, उसकी टेरिटोरियल यूनिटी है, इंटीग्रिटी। कौन अपने देश में आपके सैनिक को रहने देगा, नहीं रहने देगा, वो निर्णय करेगा। आप जबरदस्ती रहेंगे वहाँ, तो वो उस पर तो मालदीव या नेपाल है, लेकिन उसमें भी हो रहा है। जैसे कि यूक्रेन का क्या इशू है, रसिया यही कह रहा है और भारत यूक्रेन को क्यों नहीं स्पर्श है? क्योंकि यूक्रेन जो है नाटो को अपने हम ला रहा है, नाटो के मेंबरशिप मांग रहा है, और रसिया कह रहा है कि हम नाटो को अपनी सीमा पे नहीं आने देना चाहते। इसी तरह समझ लीजिए कि चाइना को अगर जब नेपाल अपने आप ध्यान देगा तो हम लोग कैसा मानेंगे? हमें देंगे मतलब उसमें बेहतर है कि हम मालदीव अपने यहाँ चाइनीज सैनिक ला रहा है, तो हम प्रोटेस्ट करेंगे, विरोध करेंगे, नहीं करेंगे। सेम थिंग है, इंडिया विल नॉट लाइक दैट Chinese influence is rising. India is already alarmed. India is already worried because of rising Chinese strategic footprints in the Indian Ocean, in the South Asian region. लेकिन फिर भी हम लोग इंटरनेशनल कम्युनिटी का हिस्सा हैं, रूल्स रेगुलेशन और सब कुछ हैं। अमेरिका के गलियारे में पड़ोस में क्यूबा है, तो क्यूबा को अमेरिका बर्दाश्त करना नहीं कर रहा है। क्यूबा और अमेरिका की दूरी कितनी है? बहुत कम है। ढेर सारे क्यूबन वहाँ फ्लोरिडा में तो क्यूबन से रह रहे हैं। तो जैसे अमेरिका क्यूबा, अमेरिका सुपर पावर है, अभी भी सुपर पावर है, तो क्यूबा को कब से बर्दाश्त करा? फिडेल कास्ट्रो कब से आए? वे आपकी ऑपरेशन के थ्रू हटाने की कोशिश वो फेल कर गए। तो जैसे क्यूबा को अमेरिका बर्दाश्त कर रहा है, जैसे भारत को मालदीव को बर्दाश्त करना पड़ेगा। मालदीव चीन के गोद में बैठा रहेगा, मालदीव तो अपना गोद बदलता रहता है, तो अभी वो ये हाथ जाए दूसरा जाए तो भारत क्या जाएगा? वो कहते हैं इंडिया फर्स्ट पॉलिसी, वो कहते हैं इंडिया आउट पास, ये तो है वहाँ की। तो वो बात इसलिए होगी। लेकिन आपका जो फर्स्ट पार्ट है एनार्की का, तो एनार्की अगर जो सब्जेक्ट आप सोशल कॉन्स्ट्रक्टिव से जाएंगे तो निश्चित रूप से सब्जेक्टिव है। लेकिन आप एनार्की यदि आप स्ट्रक्चरल रियलिटी से जाएंगे तो जो है निश्चित रूप से एनार्की फिक्स है, गिवन है। एनार्की से मेरा मतलब यही है, एब्सेंस का मतलब तो कोई भी वर्ल्ड गवर्नमेंट कर सकती है, ओके। और अमेरिका जो मनमानी कर रहा है डायरेक्टली वर्ल्ड हो गया। सबका क्वेश्चन हो गया? यू हैव अप्लाइड हेलोटिन।
Thank you so much, sir. Due to lack of time, we are moving to the next phase of our discussion session. Sir have provided us with a comprehensive understanding of India's foreign policy shift in South Asia. Once again, thank you so much, sir, for investing your valuable and precious time in our today's discussion session. Now, let's move to the next phase of our session.